And but I noticed that Behrooz is there, so maybe we'll get him set up, and then we can figure out how to. Behrooz, I'm not seeing your audio yet or your video.
We probably just got in. It takes a minute to kind of get oriented.
Yeah, let me see. So because he's in here, but he's just not.
This?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yes, well, I can hear you now. And try and open up your camera too,
Oh, okay.
so that we can see you. And Peter's just plugging in my computer because I let it run all day without power. So, yeah. Oh, there you are. Hello, Behrooz. How you doing? Good to see you.
Wonderful to meet you, Dr. Sabet.
Thank
So-
you. Nice to meet you again.
I'm Christina Fuchs. I'm the instructor for this class.
I can see our students are arriving. So, Christina, do you want me to make you the presenter now?
No, it's okay. You can keep it or give it to Dr. Sabet. Either way, it's fine. All I'm doing is me talking. So
I think we would want to give you make you, because I don't need to be the presenter, that's for sure. So we should, screen sharing, maybe give it already over to, who do you want me to give the screen to, Christina?
Go
I sent you a PowerPoint. Do you receive it, Sabine?
Let me see. You don't want me. You don't want to see my screen. So let me give it to Christina. I'll give it to you right now.
Sure.
So you're the new presenter, okay? And we would want to change it to Behrooz as soon as he is starting with his PowerPoint. Why don't we already bring up his PowerPoint? Shall we do that now?
Yeah, let me go ahead and just give it to him.
So we'll give the screen to Behrooz. Okay, Behrooz. So if you can bring up your PowerPoint now, let's make sure we can see it.
Okay.
Yep, there you are. Looks like it's happening. And we would want your...
Yes.
Okay, I'm off.
Okay, I'm seeing your email and you want to go to your PowerPoint.
No.
So whilst Behrooz is bringing up his PowerPoint, oh, there you go, he got it. And then full screen.
Beautiful.
So is it?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it, but it looks to me like you can go even bigger than that because I see your side slides. So it strikes me that maybe on the right hand side there you can X out your well, I still can see yours. I think you need to go more into a full screen, not so much make the slide bigger, but take out your side slides.
To the left, yeah, the view, there you are. Yeah, just click the view and you should be able to change it to slide only is what you want.
at the bottom of your PowerPoint, you can see how it shows a singular slide or your whole presentation. So you just want to see the singular slide.
Yeah, where it says slide only, doctor. There you go.
There you are. You got it.
All right.
And I think on the right-hand side, is it just me, or am I seeing there, which you could X out, is your shows your, I think, sort of a detail on your slide. I don't know if you can see it on your side. Can you see it too, Christina? On
Yeah.
his right-hand side, it shows.
Trying to figure out if there's a way he can exit out of it. I'm unfamiliar with Macs, so.
Where it shows appearance and tile. Do you not see that?
Yeah, I see it. I'm just unfamiliar with Macs and how to
Yeah.
use it.
And I think on your right-hand side of your PowerPoint presentation is a tool that shows some detail how you set up your slide. Can you see it? You want to take that out. Yeah, that one there. Take it out. Just exit out.
Maybe click on document where it says document on the far
Well,
right top.
if you can't, never mind.
Oh, I guess he might not. I have no idea how to work Mac, so.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
Okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We won't look at that. We'll cover it up with our attendance.
Cover it with our sin-covering eyes.
Yes, of course, always. In a very big way, I promise you.
So Dr. Sabet, this course at Everett Community College is Global Studies Introduction to the Middle East. And the students have spent this module this week. We've been covering human rights, the issue of human rights. And as you know, in the Middle Eastern region, there's a lot we can cover when it comes to human rights, a wealth to cover actually. But we've been focusing particularly on BIHE education rights. And I feel this is a very important issue globally, but it's also an issue that I think really resonates with the students because they're in college right now. And here, in the political environment of the U.S. today, we're talking about making sure that students have access to discounted or free education. But yet there's so many places in the world where students don't have access to education at all because of their religion or because of their gender or because of their social status. So I thank you so much for coming today and talking about that being your specialty. And I've watched a few of your YouTube videos that are in Farsi, so I didn't understand terribly much of what you said, but I really appreciate your expertise on this.
Thank you so much. I'm going to thank you for inviting me, and it is always a pleasure to speak about BIHE, Baha'i Institute for Higher Education. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been a university professor. I was dean of a university for some time, and I have been involved in full-time employee. I have worked with for BIHE at different capacities. Some of the things that I have established, helped us to be established at BIHE is the online learning platform, and also some major steps towards curriculum reform. and also instituting research process at different departmental levels, and also advising students. So basically, let me give you a brief introduction through this PowerPoint presentation about BIHE. And then, of course, I would like you to have, to ask questions, and we can have a more interactive and dynamic conversations.
Oh, Dr. Sabet, let me go ahead and insert here because it looks like we're starting. So if the students have questions, there's two different ways they can ask questions. And this is I'd like to point this is a really great class. They're very inquisitive, and they're highly intelligent in the way they connect ideas. So some of them are going to type up their answers in the chat box, and I can bring that to your attention. And others might turn on their mic and ask you a question. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sure.
Perfect. And then I just want to, before you get started, I just want to do a shout out to Zabina and the Unity Museum. We want to thank Zabina and the Unity Museum so much for arranging these lectures. Between our speakers and the Unity Museum, we have got some great talks in this class, and me and the students, we are very grateful. So with that said, Dr. Sabet, I'll let you go ahead and start the presentation. Thank you again.
Thank you. So, all right, let me see how it works. All right. So it's first a little bit about the history of Baha'i Institute for Higher Education, or BIHE. BIHE was an educational initiative which was developed by the Baha'i community of Iran in order to provide for the education of Baha'i young students who were deprived of access to higher education in that country because of the official government policy that was initiated after the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979. They established a theocracy, and according to theological doctrines, they considered Baha'is as heretics. And of course, that by itself is a different subject, and that goes to the history of the Baha'i faith and to the beginning of the Baha'i faith in 1844 in that country. And since the inception of the Baha'i faith in Iran, it has faced severe persecution, initially because of the theological or religious differences, and because they believe that there won't be any prophet after the Prophet Muhammad, and therefore they initiated a strong opposition to the Baha'i movement, even though Baha'is were really trying to bring modernity and modernization and social reform and religious reform to Iranian society. Of course, throughout the history, this persecution has continued, but the situation got much worse after the Islamic Revolution in 1979, because this time the clergies, who were the main enemies of the Baha'i faith, took over the government, and they had not only the informal but also the formal policies at hand, and they could write the constitution, impose the law, and whatever they wanted to do. So they had free hand in doing that. And so one of the problems, one of the issues that they created for the Baha'i community of Iran was to not allow Baha'i students to access higher education in that country, and therefore Baha'is, in order to find some ways to provide education for their own children and young students, they created this informal arrangement because of this policy, and because the government did not allow Baha'is to establish official institutions of learning in Iran. So it all began in 1987, immediately after the Islamic Revolution, and after all Baha'i university professors were fired from their jobs and Baha'i university students were expelled from universities. It became increasingly clear that the authorities had no intention of changing the situation, and because the Baha'i community places high value on education, Baha'is with expertise in various fields of study began to volunteer their services by holding classes for the students. And this undertaking evolved by the late 1980s, and from that point on, it became known as Baha'i Institute for Higher Education. Of course, there were also some other names in the initial days of the institution, such as Free University, or sometimes it's called Underground University, and so on. But the official name of the institution is called the Baha'i Institute for Higher Education. And I mentioned something about the Baha'i teachings and the importance of education. And I believe this statement of Abdul Baha, the son of Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, in one of his books, which is called The Secret of Divine Civilization, he wrote that the most urgent requirement is the promotion of education. It is inconceivable that any nation should achieve prosperity and success unless this fundamental concern is carried forward. The principal reason for the decline and fall of people is ignorance. So, and education is an obligatory enterprise in the Baha'i faith. It is not something. In other words, parents are required to provide education for their children, and if they cannot do it, this is the responsibility of the government or social institutions to provide education. So education is very important for the Baha'is. And of course, when they face with this tumultuous situation, banning their students from going to universities and acquiring knowledge and becoming professionals in different fields of study, so they had to do something about it.
Okay. Love you. Just try to drink water. Yeah, good. Love you. Good.
So,
Looks really finicky. It has.
Does somebody have a question? Go ahead and ask if you have anything. Jackie, it looks like I have a question. If not, you want to turn your mic off.
Was there any question?
No, it looks like her mic might have come on by accident. Go ahead, Dr. Sabet. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's all right. So basically, the mission of this university was stated as the purpose or the mission of the Baha'i students and graduates will be trained to seek knowledge, to search for truth, beauty, and justice, to pursue excellence in a spirit of loving fellowship, to become independent learners, creative thinkers, and problem solvers, to examine dynamic interactions between scientific facts and universal values as a frame of reference for the meaningful application of knowledge, to appreciate the role of technology in laying the material foundation of civilization, and to draw upon the lessons of the past in order to advance new understanding for the future. And in addition to these goals, one of the tasks or one of the objectives of the university was to facilitate a learning environment that helps the students to become versatile and resourceful, which is being able to adapt their educational background and experiences to the changes that are happening on the global scene and in the global economy, in technology, trade, and social disruptions that we are witnessing on a daily basis. And also because of the, again, government policy to create some sort of economic strangulation, another task of this university was to increase the prospect for employment. In other words, to teach them some useful trade and vocations so that they can gain a job and be able to contribute to the society. And of course, it was a part of the, Baha'i education or the importance of Baha'i education throughout the world. So it was a major contribution to that process as well. Basically, this here is a conceptual base for the way that we developed the curriculum, was that we first, on the right-hand side, we had certain vision, values, and meanings and perspectives that I just read for you as a part of our mission and vision. And we believe those values had to guide our entire enterprise throughout the history of the university. And the second option was the second area or that BIHE emphasized was a core knowledge in natural and social sciences and humanities, as well as mastery of specialized disciplines and skills. And there was also emphasis on technology and applied sciences. Also, the idea was that the purpose of all this should be service, social responsibility, and contributing to the betterment of Iranian society, and also having a global vision, because we are living in a globalized environment. And in the middle, as you can see, the emphasis was on language, on communication. The language of instruction was, and it still is, Persian and English, and also emphasizing science and maths and problem solving. BIHE offers diverse university-level programs and continue to develop and offer academic programs in science, social sciences, and the arts. It also has a 2-year program in vocational and career orientation. Overall, it offers more than 1,000 courses. Those who directly teach classes and those who support this work, in other words, the number of faculties internally and externally is about 700. And because the Baha'i community is aware that this is the only possible arrangement in Iran to assist Baha'i youth to have an opportunity for higher education, many offer their services as volunteers. Majority of people who work for BIHE are doing it as volunteers. BIHE overall has 18 undergraduate programs and 14 graduate programs. And the faculty of BIHE is comprised of those who are teaching inside Iran, and then the ones that are teaching from outside, which we call them the AGF, or Affiliated Global Faculty. And this is comprised of professors holding PhD degrees and work in North America, Europe, Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And this is one of the unique and impressive features of this university. The Affiliated Global Faculty was created in response to the emerging needs of BIHE, including an increasing number of courses being offered in English and the desire to achieve internationally accepted educational standards. And then, of course, they have different functions and different responsibilities, including offering advice on curriculum and course content, development of new courses, teaching courses, and some other academic activities. And here is the list of undergraduate programs. You can always go to bihe.org, bihe.org, and have access. That is the public website of the university, and you can check on that. And there are, of course, some changes that sometimes they are not reflected in the official website, but overall these are the number of undergraduate programs that are offered through BIHE courses and programs. And here are the list of graduate programs. Graduate programs are all at master level. There is no PhD program, so at least for now, in BIHE. And so we have these master programs in different fields, in education, in psychology, in engineering and computer sciences, in public health, sociology, as well as Persian literature. BIHE also has a core curriculum for all undergraduate students. The nature of core curriculum is, the core curriculum offers interdisciplinary courses, and the whole idea is to show students how each field of study complements the others, and also to explore dynamic interactions between science, society, and culture, to provide a learning environment for participatory learning, to encourage community service and social and economic development, to encourage critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity, and making research an integral component of teaching learning environment. And overall, the goal was that even though specialization is important, and of course they are graduates of BIHE are specialized in different disciplines, however, the whole idea was that we provide them a forum so that they examine the unity of knowledge and the unity of learning. And so that was...
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Sabet. A few questions from the students when you're ready.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so first question is from Caitlin, and she's asking, what is the most common area of study for Baha'is? Like, what's your biggest degree program?
The most, I should say, engineering, computer science, and accounting and pharmacology are the areas that are, have higher demands. And it's obvious, it's almost obvious the reason for that, because they can find jobs in the private sector. Mm-hmm. And so that's, but at the same time, there are, courses or programs in humanities and social sciences are also popular. But the greatest demand is in engineering and sciences and computer science.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense. Next question is from Justin, and he was wondering what the graduation rate, like the percentage of graduates you guys have every year at the school.
Percent of graduation is fine. In other words, the dropout is very limited, very minimized. We don't have such a thing. And because these are exceptional students, they are students all over the world, but because of the unique social situation, when they come into the system, into the university, they do their best usually, unless they are working and they have sometimes family responsibilities, and I've seen problems that from those areas that have interfered with the education and with the educational process and the learning process. But overall, they have tried, they really work hard to continue and succeed. Mm-hmm. And so overall, let's say if 100 students are registered, every year between 300 to 400 students are accepted as the freshman class, and from those, I believe maybe 90% are will be graduate.
That is really impressive, and that actually leads into a question Zabina has. She was hoping that you could talk a little bit about how students make it underground to attend classes, and how they're often arrested and are still in jail just for attending school classes, presumably in Iran.
Yes, first of all, let me make some clarification about the underground. This is, of course, a terminology that to some extent explains the situation of BIHE. But professors and administrators and even students of BIHE, they never desire to be considered as an underground institution in a sense of doing something illegal. They have tried their best to inform the officials of the country about their intention, their purpose. They have used every possible means to inform the government and officials about their concerns, and of course the answer, they have never received satisfactory answer, and not only that, the institution has been raided 4 or 5 times since its beginning, and each time, when I say 4 or 5 times, I'm referring to major raids. Of course, arrest here and there is a common practice, but in several major raids, they have arrested a number of administrators and teachers, as well as students, and they have confiscated computers, materials, reading materials, and so on. And they have really tried to stop the university from moving forward. So that is the situation, and so they, in that sense, I just wanted to clarify that the intention of the university has never been to to become intentionally to become an underground university. And the way that it was initiated, the Baha'i families all over Iran, and mainly and more importantly in major cities, they opened their doors, homes, to Baha'i students. So for instance, someone had a bigger room or a basement, and they provided that to have classes there. And so majority of classes and educational activities in the early days of the university were held in Baha'i homes, in rooms, in basements, in those places. However, since 2003, there was a major attempt to digitalize, so-called, in other words, to introduce online learning to the university. And since then, this online process has grown substantially. And so at this point, majority of courses and programs that are offered at BIHE are so-called hybrid courses or hybrid programs, which means they are half online, half face-to-face. And in fact, there was also another factor, and that is the concept of distance learning, because I don't know if you are familiar with the history of distance learning and online learning. Initially, the whole idea was distance learning before the computer age and before the using the internet and online platforms to deliver learning. So it was distance learning. In other words, materials were sent to students through mail and so on. So even that element is still to some extent alive in BIHE. And so overall, they have limited face-to-face classes, and then they rely heavily on online courses. In other words, each course has an online feature, but some of the courses, particularly the ones that are offered from outside, are fully 100% online, but the ones that are inside the country, maybe 50% online, 10 to 20% distance learning, and then maybe 20 or 30% face-to-face classes.
Dr. Sabet, you've got students asking a lot of great questions here. They're very curious now. Let me see if I can kind of break down some of these questions. A couple students have questions on the instructors, like are the instructors paid to teach, and where do they come from, and do they volunteer, or are they from the States, are they from Iran, or are they Baha'i? And then the students, how do the students, do they pay for their instruction? Do they get any kind of financial aid? Given that the Iranian government isn't very friendly with BIHE, they probably don't give the same kind of financial aid that we have here in the States or in Europe. So they're just kind of wondering what that would be like financially for the students. Sorry, there's a lot of questions there, but they got some really good ones.
Sure, thank you. They don't receive financial aid, but at the same time, they don't have to pay, very expensive tuition. That is the, maybe the way that you may consider that as a financial aid or a scholarship. In other words, there is a really minimal tuition if students are able to pay. Otherwise, if they are unable to pay even that minimal tuition, still no students is denied access to higher education because of the financial situation. So in a sense, it is almost a free university. And so the financial, but they don't offer any other financial assistance. But they are free to come study and get their degrees almost for free or very, very minimal charges. The way that, about the faculty, majority, as I mentioned, majority of faculty, I mean, there are a number of faculty inside the country, and these are the people who were university professors and were dismissed from the university because they were Baha'is, or they were professionals like architects or engineers or physicians. So they use their knowledge to teach BIHE students. For instance, we had a few physicians, doctors, who came and taught biology, even though maybe, you know, they had taken biology courses many, many years ago, but they still, you know, they were able to teach biology, for instance. Or we had engineers who came and taught, you know, math and physics. Also, another source of faculty has been human resources, has been that BIHE, a number of BIHE graduates went to mainly North American universities, the United States and Canada, and they got their degrees, master degrees, and a few their PhDs. And they came back to the country. They went back to Iran and started helping BIHE as professors, as advisors, and as administrators. So that was another source of, you know, human resources. In other words, it came internally from within the system. They got their bachelor degree from BIHE. They went to Canada, or they came to the United States. They studied. Majority of them at the master level. A few went ahead and completed their PhDs, but because they had promised they would go back to Iran, they returned and started helping BIHE. So that's another source of providing human resources. And then, of course, there are a number of individuals, including myself, who teach from outside, and from United States, from Canada, from Europe, Australia, and so on. And as I said, the courses that we teach are fully online, 100% online, and we work for different departments. We teach sociology courses, we have education courses, we have engineering courses, and so on. And again, majority, almost 100% in certain cases, it's done voluntarily. Majority of instructors at inside and outside are Baha'is, and that's why it is for voluntary services, because it is a sense of fellowship that the idea is to, since our brothers and sisters are facing these difficulties in Iran, so it was a sense of international solidarity or helping our other human beings, and because of that, they volunteers their times and their energies and so on. So, but I should say, in certain situations, for instance, they needed a professor in a very, very specialized area. I don't know, like artificial intelligence, for instance, and or nanotechnology, for instance. And then in those cases, in order to teach a course or two, I believe they paid certain individuals to teach those courses. But majority, as I said, have been on a voluntary basis. Did I answer all the questions? Did I miss something?
I think that was a beautiful answer. But I mean, to my students, if you guys have more questions, please type them up, because I mean, these are great questions. And Dr. Sabet, these are fantastic answers. Thank you so much for volunteering your time in the pursuit of education and helping others in other countries. Jenna had a question about, because most of these courses are now online, doesn't the Iranian government have any power to potentially block websites? Has that ever endangered BIHE from getting classes through to students?
Yeah, it has happened several times. They have tried to hack the online platform, but again, it's like they have done it, but BIHE has started again, and with in a new setting, and yeah, it has happened, but again, it's just a matter of I call it creative resistance, and as I said, they know that they have no other choice. The students, their parents, the community, and they know that without BIHE, the students, they lose their culture. And we don't want to become a community that has lost its cultural and educational identity. And because of that, because of the there is a strong determination that we, because it was very obvious that one of the purposes of the government in order for this policy was to make the fabric of the Baha'i community weak and shaky in terms of education, in terms of professional abilities, skills, and all those areas. And obviously, when a community is weak in terms of culture and education, it can disintegrate very easily. So in order to resist that pressure, they realize that they have no other choice but to continue on this path of creative, peaceful resistance to oppression.
Dr. Sabet, Zabina has a question about transferring of BIHE credit. How would students transfer BIHE credits when they arrive in the US or perhaps in Europe? Is there any process for that?
Do you hear me?
Sorry, did you hear me okay?
Yes, I'm trying to, okay.
No worries, I can.
Yes, what happened was, the majority of, until let's say around 2001, 2002, BIHE was a totally unknown institution of learning. But since then, there have been major changes or developments that have resulted in BIHE becoming almost in certain quarters a well-known institution of learning. The first approaches were taken when a number of BIHE graduates were accepted in a few universities, mainly in Canada, on conditional basis. In other words, the university offered them a master to study a master program, but they told them that we don't trust your degree or transcripts, and therefore you have to prove yourself. We know about the situation of Baha'is in Iran. We know about the government policy, but still, we need to be cautious. And therefore, what happened was they gave them a chance to prove themselves. Fortunately, those students were able to prove themselves, and that helped tremendously, because let's say the teachers, the professors, the deans wrote letters of recommendation, and they were able to successfully finish their master degrees, and a few even went to other PhD programs. And basically through by proving themselves and enhancing their performance, they establish a precedent that became like a template for future universities and institutions of learning to look for the same type of students with the same academic caliber. So this was the initial plan and process. And then, of course, there were more students went to other universities. And usually when they come to American or apply to American or Canadian university, what happens is that as foreign students, there are books that name the universities that are accepted by the government of that country. That's basically the way that American and Canadian universities determine the validity of a diploma or license or transcripts. And of course, BIHE was not a part of in that list. BIHE was not officially recognized by the government. So what happened was we started writing letters. We started collecting documents about the situation in Iran, about the courses that they have taught, about when we sent transcript, we also sent course descriptions for along with each transcript, so they could see when we say, history of science, we cover these areas. So that was another helpful measure that opened more doors to BIHE graduates. And then there were a few major campaigns, like Education Under Fire campaign, or the other one that was initiated after that. There were a few major campaigns in first in American universities, and then it went to Canadian and also European universities. There were movies and films were made in order to introduce BIHE, and so as a result of that, a number of departments and programs accepted BIHE students, and several deans, several university presidents wrote letters of support. And so a combination of these issues or these developments since 2001, 2002, and further momentum after 2003 up to this point have resulted in very successful campaign that benefited BIHE students, to the point that if a student, I can say with almost, I don't know, 90% certainty, that if a BIHE graduate comes to the United States with a good GPA the possibility for being accepted into an American university is almost more than 90%.
Dr. Sabet, what about if a Baha'i student in Iran graduates with a degree from BIHE, and then they want to go use their degree, like let's say they got a degree in computer science and they want to design software for a business in Iran. But when they turn in their resume, they have a degree from BIHE, which is not exactly friendly. Iran is not exactly friendly to. So how will that hinder them getting a job on the if they say that they got the degree from BIHE in Iran?
Yes, definitely. You know, first of all, they cannot get a job in any institution that is directly or indirectly related to the government. In any organization, they cannot become, let's say, school teachers to teach in public schools, I mean. So, yeah, definitely that door is closed. But in the private sector, because BIHE has really produced excellent graduates, and they have shown their skills in action. So the same way that BIHE achieved good reputation among North American universities, and that opened the door for them, the same thing has happened in Iran's private sector. Private sector to some extent knows about the performance and skillful abilities of BIHE students and graduates, so they accept them. I mean, if, of course, with some, hesitation, but they have accepted them, sometimes with lesser salaries, but overall, it's been a positive process.
Thank you, Dr. Sabet. And I want to kind of refer to a comment that Catlin made a little bit earlier. She was wondering why, she's having trouble grasping why Iran is so opposed to education, because education betters society. This is something that's going to require a long answer, but I figure it was worth addressing. Why is the Iranian government? I mean, the people are something completely different from the government, obviously, because you just said that the people oftentimes take students with a degree from BIHE. But why does the Iranian government have so much difficulty supporting and accepting BIHE? Because it really does better society to have a more educated populace. What are your thoughts on that?
It's, as you just said, it really requires extensive response in terms of because the animosities that Baha'is are experiencing in Iran is not something new. As I mentioned initially, since the beginning of the Baha'i faith in Iran, throughout the history of the Baha'i faith in Iran, Baha'is have faced difficulties and extreme cases of persecution and discrimination. And as I said, it has fundamentally, it is an extreme case of religious prejudice. Of course, they always come up with some so-called acceptable excuses, and for that, for instance, they have accused Baha'is for being agents of foreign countries, mainly the United States, Israel. Why Israel? Because the Baha'i holy places are in Israel. The same way that the holy places of Christianity and Judaism and Islam are in Israel. And of course, everybody knows that, Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, was banished to the place that is called Israel now, and during the Ottoman Empire. And it was perhaps, roughly speaking, 70 years before the establishment of the State of Israel. So as you can see, first of all, it was a forceful banishment, exile, that the founder of the Baha'i faith faced from authorities from the king of Iran, the Ottoman Empire, and also ecclesiastical authorities in both countries. So that was the case. But now they come up with all sorts of excuses that Baha'is are this and Baha'is are that, and because Baha'is believe in equality between men and women. Baha'is women don't believe in obligatory hijab or covering of themselves. So they use these excuses to blame Baha'is for lack of morality. And so it's a bigger story, and what we see today is just an extension of that history of persecution, which is now showing itself in tonight's discussion in the case of BIHE. So if you ask them, are you against education? They say, no, we love education. We have many universities in the country, we do this, we do that. But when it comes to Baha'is, Baha'i faith is a taboo, and they don't like to touch that. And to be honest with you, it is to some extent acceptable, because the Baha'i faith, with the freedom, with the principles that offer, it is, I should say, some sort of, it is threatening to clergies, because the Baha'i faith goes to the root of the theological discussion that gives legitimacy to the absolute ruler of Iran as the representative of the Prophet. And also, the concept of, reform, social reform, democracy, freedom. So these are threatening ideas.
Thank you, Dr. Sabet. That was very well said. That was perfect.
Let
me kind of open the floor. That very much moved me, and I know it moved the students. It's a great issue. Was there more of your PowerPoint, Dr. Sabet, or did you finish your PowerPoint?
No, I'm finished with that. Yes.
Okay. So let me kind of reach out to my students. Do you guys have more questions for Dr. Sabet, especially on Baha'i education rights? Or maybe just wondering, what the students go through on a day-to-day basis, if that interests you. I think you've shocked them into silence. Justin agrees with me. I think, because I think in America and in Europe, education is just a fundamental given. You can't even call it a right. It's a fundamental given. Everybody just gives the fact that they're going to get an education. At least K through 12 is said and done with, and college, of course, for such a large portion of the population. The idea that you can not get an education just because you have Baha'i written on your dog tags or Baha'i written on your certificate prevents you from any access to education. It's just phenomenally different from anything that these students have been subjected to.
Exactly. I mean, you said it very well. It's this is almost unbelievable for some people in a free country, and And I think that gives students here in this country, I should say, more social responsibility and individual responsibility, to be honest with you. And in terms of, you know, my advice to students here and to your students is they have to really take advantage of this wonderful situation that they have and study hard and become versatile and resourceful. These are the two terms that I always use when I teach education courses. And this is really a unique opportunity. And so we really need to become, you really need to become educated. And because we are moving more and more toward an economy that is based on knowledge and information. You know, some of the social upheavals that we are facing now in the United States, in the election, is because of the social disruption that has taken place, and some people are not educationally aware or ready to move on with the rapid pace of change. For instance, coal industry. Let me give you one clear example. It is, the time is, you know, the protection of the environment has reached to a critical degree that certain industries need to be gradually relinquished. And it may, of course, should be done with wisdom, gradually, you know, with consideration of people's economic well-being and so on. But ultimately, the pace of change requires that we move on to a type of industry, a type of economy that is supporting our environment. Now, some people are not trained in order to move on with the pace of change. And therefore, what happened, it reflects itself in the political scene, in opposition, in conflict, in tension. So, but the change will move on, whether we like it or not. That's what I'm trying to say. So in order to become successful for young people, they really need to develop skills, knowledge that are really compatible with the emerging conditions of the world. So that's...
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to echo, you know, to whom much is given, much is expected, and I think that is exactly the thing to say and to highlight here. Thank you, Dr. Sabet.
Thank you.
So a couple questions from students. They're wondering where the BIHE students get their textbooks. If they get them from Amazon.com, or if they perhaps they get them from online sources, or do they have to special order them? How do they get access to textbooks if they're in Iran?
Oh, okay. If they are in Iran, you know, there are books that they can purchase from bookstores, you know, like in Persian, of course, or works that are translated, textbooks that are translated into Farsi or Persian, and it's accessible to, you know, to the public. So that's how they get it. And then there are, you know, courses that are offered, let's say, from outside, and the language of instruction is English. In that case, a number of books are purchased here and shipped to Iran. That's how it works.
That's interesting. Let's see, and Jenna had a question. She was wondering if a Christian or a Jew can attend BIHE, or if it can only be Baha'is.
At this point, in fact, this question was raised at some point in the history, several times in the history of BIHE. BIHE and its administrators, and I mean the whole philosophy of BIHE is based on inclusiveness. We love to have students of diverse religious backgrounds. And you know, interesting point is that now I'm glad that you answered this question. You know, even though it's offered as you know, through a religious community, but BIHE is not a seminary. BIHE is an institution of higher learning based on modern theories in science, in physics, in chemistry, in biology, in social sciences, and so on. So in other words, we never use BIHE as a platform to advance certain aspects of Baha'i thinking or Baha'i ideology. Of course, ideals of the Baha'i faith, such as equality, justice, freedom, fairness, education, importance of education, importance of science, these are incorporated into the philosophical framework of the university. But you know, you may take many courses in BIHE and not even hear the name Baha'i, for instance, particularly if you are in technical fields or engineering and so on. So it is not a seminary, it is not a Baha'i university in that sense. It is like any other university in any part of the world. So, so that is basically the idea, and we would love to have students from other religious or ethnic background. But unfortunately, at this point, because of obvious reasons, BIHE is not able to accept any other student because we can hardly manage with Baha'i students. So because of our limitations, it is not possible to accept non-Baha'i students. But in the future, definitely I see BIHE as an international university accepting students from any country, any nationality, any religious background.
Thank you, Dr. Sabet. Thank you. So the students have got some really great questions here. Let me go back up a bit. We talked about software security and how, you know, BIHE has to sometimes avoid the Iranian government shutdowns through online security and all that. But what about, Caitlin's asking a question about personal security. Is there any kind of personal security provided for students who attend the hybrid courses or the courses that are held in person?
Yes, it's always there. The danger is always there. They are, you know, but you know, it's very interesting. After some time, when you experience these situations on a daily basis, people develop a sense of, I don't know how to explain it, almost indifference to external threats. If it's going to happen, it will happen.
That's a really great point. Let's see. So Jackie asked a question. Jack, I'm going to kind of try and interpret your question a little bit. I think she's asking what kind of social interactions do the Baha'i students have when they attend in-person classes? Are there clubs? Are there, you know, like guess, events? Do they go to a restaurant or go to a coffee shop and study together? How might that work?
Yeah, I guess so, because obviously, they have to eat something, to spend some time together and socialize. Obviously, that will happen. But it is not something, planned ahead of time. It happens on on that as the situation arises, basically. But yeah, but again, because of the fellowship is always an ingredient of Baha'i meetings in general. Mm-hmm. And therefore I'm sure they spend time together. They may go to have to coffee shops and or they eat together. Definitely these are parts of the process.
Okay. And Jackie's wondering, is it normal for the students to say they're in school, or do they try to stay quiet about it and maybe make up another excuse for why they have to be busy Saturday night instead of doing something else?
I mean, I guess it varies from individual to individual. Maybe some individuals say, try to, conceal that, but I know there are other individuals who say, openly that I am student of BIHE to their friends and to the, public at large, if they are asked.
Okay, great. And Nicole has a question about, we know the government's persecuting the Baha'is because obviously the Iranian government doesn't want BIHE there, and we see several arrests of students and faculty and administrators. Do the Iranian people, because you have Baha'i Iranians, you have Christian, Jews, and of course the majority religion is Islam. Do Muslim Iranian citizens also persecute Baha'is as well?
Fortunately, I have good news here, and that is, before the revolution, because of many years of, spreading poisonous information about the Baha'is and the Baha'i faith, and also because Baha'is did not have access to any public forum to defend themselves, to explain their religion and so on. So the Baha'i faith was really a secluded community that had, to basically live within its own system. But even at that time, I should say, because of the importance of education, which I've mentioned, Baha'is have always been offered educated individuals to the community. And because of that, many of them became very successful in science, in industry, and so on. But overall, my impression is this, that since the revolution, in the past 36, 37 years, even more, people have seen with their own eyes that Baha'is have been persecuted, but they have responded in positive, peaceful, constructive approaches. And this has created a new environment that when the government starts persecuting Baha'is, in many cases and in many situations, people and the public have come to defend Baha'is. But yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not saying that 100% people of Iran are now in favor of Baha'is or they have, completely ignored the previous assumptions and so on. No, still there are some who are attached to their dogmatic thinking and so on, but my feeling is that majority of people are now looking at Baha'is with a different eye.
Those with their dogmatic opinions probably still tell their friends not to drink the Baha'i tea when they go into those households, I assume.
Exactly, yes.
So for my students, it used to be, is it still, Dr. Sabet, I'm not sure if they still say that, but it used to be Muslims, when they went into a Baha'i household, they were instructed by their Muslim friends not to drink the tea because that would convert you to Baha'i. Just, because it couldn't be, the equality of religion, equality of gender, focus on education, all the wonderful elements of Baha'i that would convert someone. No, it must have been the tea. It had to be the tea.
Exactly.
So don't drink the Baha'i tea.
I personally experienced that several times when I was much younger, and was in high school and in that time. But I believe that may be the case in certain quarters. But fortunately, people have, students, women particularly, Iranian women have been in the forefront of change in Iran. And intellectuals, university professors, and so there are very, very positive forces in that country now that they have come openly in defense of Baha'is. Right, like a few days ago, we even some religious leaders, like the clergy Ayatollah Masumi Tehrani. I don't know if you have heard his name, but he recently has done so many things for religious harmony in Iran throughout his career. And in the past couple of years, he has intensified his efforts, and he has included Baha'is among other religions and other minorities in Iran to promote harmony and religious coexistence and so on. So recently, he has created a new painting, and this painting, briefly, I should say, is in the background of the painting is a map of Iran with some pictures of some historical buildings and aspects of Iranian culture and heritage. And around the painting, there are 8 religious symbols representing 8 religions of Iran, including Sunni Muslim, Shia Muslim, Christian, Jews, Zoroastrian, Baha'is, and so on. There are 8 religious groups in Iran, and each are represented in their own religious symbols around this beautiful painting. And then what he has done is very interesting. He said he has divided this piece into 8 sections. Each section that belongs to different religions. And he has given that particular section to the representative of that religious community. Let's say that the symbol that represents the cross, Christianity, was given to the Christians of Iran. And that's the same thing for Baha'is, the same thing for Jews, the same thing for Zoroastrians. And then he wrote a very, very interesting letter to introduce this idea. And he said that no artist, no creative worker would like to divide or cut his work into pieces. But I have done this intentionally in order to show that for the same reason that this piece of art cannot be complete if all the 8 pieces come together, the same way Iranian society cannot be complete, cannot be a whole, as long as these religious divides exist in that country. So he hopes that one day representatives of these 8 religious traditions come back, put these 8 pieces together, and that would signalize a new hope and a new beginning for the future of Iran.
Wow, that's beautiful. Do you remember who the artist was? Is it something the students can find online by any chance?
Yes, he has his own Facebook, Ayatollah Ma'soumi Tehrani. I don't know where is the chat here. I could write it down for you.
Let's see. The chat box, I mean, if you click on the far right, you see where that orange, star-like icon is.
Yeah. Oh no.
I don't see anything.
I can give it to you later, maybe.
Okay, yeah. I'll email you after this, and I can the information and pass it on to the students. I think they'd like that. Okay. Justin wants to know if you have any book recommendations about, presumably about this topic on Baha'i rights and education.
No, I guess I don't have any particular recommendation. I think if you go online, I think online there are good resources. If you go to Education Under Fire website, or what's the other one? Maybe I forgot the name of.
I know Zabina will probably insert the hearttoheart.net would be a good place to go on Baha'i religion in general.
Oh yes, yes, exactly. Or there is another website. It's called BahaiTeachingsOrg.org, and it has different, articles, short articles on different topics. But particularly if you go to even YouTube or Google, you find, let's say, if you just type BIHE, Baha'i Institute for Higher Education, I think there is a wealth of knowledge and information online.
Okay. Anything on Iran in general you would recommend?
I think, I don't, there are many resources, of course, about history of Iran, culture of Iran. It's a fascinating country. It has a great civilization. In fact, National Geographic, the last issue of, if I'm correct, National Geographic had the feature article was about the Persian Empire and the history of Iran and all that. So I think it's a fascinating country. It was really the birthplace in so many ways of that the Cyrus the Great, the Persian king, who wrote the first document on human rights and freedom of religion, and his name is mentioned in the Old Testament, in the Bible, as someone who, as a liberator, and even some people consider him as some sort of prophet because he gave freedom to Jews. And so he was a king that basically used his power to to advance civilization and freedom and harmony, social harmony. So it's in general, if you are interested, it's you can learn a lot about when you study Iran and its history, its culture, its poetry, its philosophy, tradition, even Iranian food. It's very delicious.
Oh yes, delicious food. I'm gonna kind of take Catlin's question and add on to it. And then of course, if anybody else has any questions, please feel free to type these up. So this is gonna be a very big question, and I apologize. Dr. Sabet, what do you think has to be done? Like, what kind of social action needs to be taken to ensure that Baha'is can get an education in Iran that is accepted by the government and is not persecuted by the government? And so that's part one. Part two is, you know, I thoroughly believe that a college education should not be just observation. I believe it should be active participation as well. So while my students are getting the observation, they're learning about Baha'i education rights and all of that. If they wanted to, what could they do to help? I mean, I can't require it for them to actually actively do anything, but what would you recommend if they wanted to get involved? What could they do? So two-part question. Sorry, I could repeat it if you need me to.
Yes. You know, I think it's a very tough question. I wish I could give you some specific, tangible ways of helping BIHE, for instance. I could do that when we were in the midst of those previous campaigns. For instance, when Education Under Fire was in full active process, you know, we asked the public to send letters, to do all sorts of things in order to defend the goals and objectives of the campaign. But at this point, there is no active campaign in defense of BIHE. I really appreciate your desire to help, but I don't see anything specific or particular in terms of helping BIHE. My general suggestion is that try to advance your understanding, your knowledge about BIHE and the whole enterprise. I think just by doing that, you gain lots of insight about the concept of positive, creative resistance and how to respond to oppression through peaceful means. I think that would be, just by studying it, I think you gain some valuable insight. The other thing is, my feeling is that if you value what you are doing and become champions of social justice everywhere, here in the United States, everywhere, I think you have achieved, you have succeeded in helping the ideas of BIHE, because BIHE was, or it was, still is, a response to social injustice. So that's my suggestion. In other words, double and increase your dedication to social action, to helping other people, to avoiding violent means. In other words, really learning more and more about peaceful means for social change. Because we are living in a very critical period in human history. And I think we have to dedicate our efforts that violence and tension and animosity is not going to work. And if, so the only way that we can move forward is through peaceful means. Violence has never been, can never be justified. So I think my suggestion is if you concentrate on these goals and become, as I said, the champion of justice for people, I think you have achieved your goal. And my other suggestion is think globally. We are living in a global society. We are a part of a global society. Everything that happens, the most minute events in any corner of the globe would have global impact. We cannot close our borders. We cannot close our, the same way that we cannot close our minds, we cannot close our borders, we cannot isolate ourselves. We are living in a global society and we have to move on with that trend. And as I said, the best thing to become a citizen of the world is through education. Of course, this has nothing to do with, patriotic feeling that we all have for our country. I'm a US citizen, I have the same feeling for the United States. But that doesn't mean we should ignore the reality that we are a part of a global community. And we need to live in peace and harmony with other nations, with other religions, with other cultures. It is not easy. It is challenging for sure, but there is no other way. Every reactionary behavior towards progress and the process of global interdependency would backfire. So I think if you become really involved and in these types of thinking and social action, I think you have served, the purpose of BIHE.
Thank you, Dr. Sabet. And I really want to kind of highlight for you guys, for all of my students here today. I don't know if anyone remembers Kayla Mueller. She was a aid worker, very young, in her early 20s, that was killed last year by ISIS. And she had this famous quote from a 2013 interview she did, where she said, "For as long as I live, I will not let this suffering be normal, something we just accept." And so really it's a two-part process if you want to be involved. Whatever your issue you want to get into, whether it be BIHE education rights, whether it be Israeli-Palestinian issues, whether it be Syrian refugees, women's issues, whatever issues you choose that you want to be involved in this world, it is two-part. One, like Dr. Sabet says, education. You've got to educate yourself on it, because if you act without knowledge, then your actions might be counterproductive. And so you want to have that knowledge. And part two is get involved at a local level. Yes, you could travel across the world like Kayla did. You could absolutely do that. But you can be just as involved and do just as many good things at the local level through local nonprofit, local human rights organizations. And so education and action come together. I think that just to kind of highlight what Dr. Sabet's saying, it doesn't have to be necessarily about BIHE education, though you can make that your issue. But any human rights issue will further the high cause will further the cause for all humanity. I think is kind of what Dr. Sabet's really getting at here. And so, Dr. Sabet, I kind of characterized your thoughts.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
And so, with that said, I know, Dr. Sabet, are you on the East Coast? Where are you located?
Yes, I'm in East Coast.
Yeah, so it's like 10:30 your time. And so let me just kind of open the floor up. Are there any other questions that my students have before we thank Dr. Sabet profusely and appreciate all of his hard work? I'm just going to pause here and give the students a chance to type up any questions they have. Okay, well, if there's any other questions, I mean, we have one. Okay, that's a good question, Catlin. So Catlin's question is, what do you think the future holds for BIHE, Dr. Sabet?
Oh, good question. I really am very positive about that because it's on the right path. It has really dedicated individuals who have desire to help and also desire to achieve excellence. You don't know the degree of effort and the endeavor that BIHE workers do in order to provide the best available education to students. And so I have a strong feeling that BIHE has a bright future. BIHE will become an international university as it is hoped in the beginning, and it will really transform itself to something that can be opened and be able to welcome students from all over the world, and basically offer its experiences as a model, as an example for future situations. And so in general, I'm very hopeful, I'm very optimistic about the future of BIHE. I don't think BIHE will be defeated. It will be successful. These are not just hopeful thinking or wishful thinking. It's almost now more than almost 30 years since the beginning of this institution, and it has gone through so many challenges, and still it's moving forward, and it has expanded, it has become more productive, and it has remained strongly attached to its principles. And as I said, one of them was that this is not a seminary. In BIHE courses or programs never teach the Baha'i faith, unless it's a part of, if they are studying religion, yes, of course. But so this degree of dedication to principles, I think, is a strong foundation for successful continuation of BIHE.
Yeah, I think it's going to make a great model for future universities, future academic institutions. I think it's definitely going to be happening. So, Dr. Sabet, I don't know if you can see the chat box, but you've got a lot of students that are just thanking you so much for your time. And I'm actually going to come back on here. And Sabina, are you here still too? And so anyway, just kind of to close it up here, Dr. Sabet, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for you know, studying the group in silence for just a few moments. But it's an active group, so they didn't stay silent for long. They're very inquisitive, and they make some really great connections. And so thank you to my students for coming. You guys did a great job, great questions, great inquiry, and really challenging questions too. And Dr. Sabet, thank you for taking on those
Oh,
challenges.
thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the students. It was wonderful experience for me. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sabet, and thank you, Christina, for making this happen. And we want to thank the students for being just very dedicated and showing up. And we look forward to maybe have you again another quarter if you're willing. And I know Christina is always anxious to have some of our great speakers appear in the classrooms.
Definitely. And I want to take a moment to point out that if you guys are interested in human rights in Iran or Baha'i issues, which, you know, Baha'is argue that, you know, the issues that they're interested in are all human rights issues. And you can take a look at the Heart-to-Heart link that Zabina put up. And Zabina is also the director of the Unity Museum in the Pacific Northwest, which covers the whole Pacific Northwest, but you're most active in like the Everett through, I would say, Seattle area, right, Zabina?
Well, you know, our students, our visitors are now from South Africa. They're literally from all over the world. And we've been catering definitely to the University of Washington students as they're regularly gathering in there. And of course, we love to see the students from Everett Community College and welcome them and have a special lunch for them if that's what they're interested in. We'd love to invite them to that.
Yeah, one thing I can attest to you guys about Baha'is is that they will always feed you far more food than you will ever want. So they can that's what I did as a student. So I got lots of free food. It was great. But you get to meet people from all over the world. Very exciting. The Uni Museum's always hosting students.
Be careful about the tea.
And the tea, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't drink the tea or you might become Baha'i. Just
That's right. We're just so great coffee up here in Seattle.
Yes, the coffee's safe. Don't worry, the coffee's safe. Oh my goodness.
And I might add homemade cookies. We have a special volunteer. That's all she does. She bakes every week about 6 to 8 dozen homemade cookies, you know, chocolate chip, white macadamia nut, peanut butter, just coming over. Hey, and before I forget it, we now have an Oculus virtual reality Rift at the museum. So we are beginning to introduce virtual reality. So come on over and we'd love to see you. And we're all pretty excited about this new expanding our walls virtually.
Definitely. Technologically inclined, definitely. And then I just want to thank you again, Dr. Sabet, for volunteering at BIHE, because that is truly, I mean, that's a job of passion right there for you, because you know you're putting yourself at risk, but you're not getting paid for it, and you're trying to ensure that students who would otherwise not get an education get access to those rights for education and to further their own lives and the lives of their children. So thank you for that very much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
I know the Iranian government is going to thank you, so I'm going to thank you for them. So, all right.
Deeply grateful. That's for sure.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. So, all right. So anyway, okay, I think we're okay. So thank you everybody for coming. I want to wish everybody a good night, and for my students, I will be in touch with you guys over announcements, because I will let you know as soon as we get the recording. We'll work as soon as possible, I promise you. And so, so thank you everybody. Have a wonderful night. Have a good night, Dr. Sabet, and I'll contact you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night.